Sunday quarterback. Never thought that this would happen, but Nebraska, again, a loser by a field goal, this time to Georgia Southern. You know, Sean, this is so disappointing on so many levels. You pay a school $1.4 million to come in, and then they beat you. This is not the way the script reads, but this is the way it's been under Scott Frost.
And I just had a weird feeling about this game. I picked Nebraska not to cover but to win, like a lot of us did, but Clay Helton, his experience, and the way they put up points last week in their opener, you're like, this could be an interesting matchup. And it was more than an interesting matchup for Nebraska. Every single one of the drives that Georgia Southern had was between 75 and 80 yards for the most part. These weren't Nebraska turned it over. I mean, Georgia Southern put up all these points, I believe, Andy, without Nebraska turning it over.
Right.
And, I mean, they
Nebraska won the turnover battle 2-0, and both turnovers led to touchdowns, and they still lost. It just doesn't make any statistical logic at all.
And it was a night to honor the great scoring explosion. Unfortunately, both sides decided to honor the scoring explosion, and nobody decided to play defense. Right. And, you know, there's some key moments that obviously turned the game. Nebraska's opening drive going 3-and-out allowed them to kind of take control of this no-punt game, essentially. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, they were going to score before halftime. That 10-second runoff saved Nebraska, but then out of the locker room, they scored again, Georgia Southern. So Nebraska never seemingly felt like they had control. Yes, they took the lead late, but they couldn't stop these guys.
But even that last drive late for Nebraska, I'm sorry, the second to last drive late that they scored the touchdown on, the go-ahead, they were bailed out by not one but two overturned video reviews. So even that they were fortunate to be in that position.
And the Logan Smothers one was close.
That one could have gone either way.
Even on the radio call, Matt Davison, who would typically lean optimistic, was like, we're not going to get this call. And they got it.
Yep.
And then the touchdown or the 1 yard line to Marcus Washington. So you're right. They got a couple big calls, but, man, what a disaster of a game for Nebraska.
And you even gave Georgia Southern too much time on the clock after not scoring from first and goal from the 1 or whatever. You give the ball back with 3 minutes, which is about 2.5 minutes too much time.
Yeah, you almost needed Nebraska to run that clock. Yeah. We were joking in our seats like they should just kneel it down or get to the 1 yard line 3 straight times to run off 40 seconds per play and give Georgia Southern no time. But, now the question, Andy, where do we go from here?
Yeah, where do we go from here, Sean?
I was trying to ask you.
I know. Your turn first.
You know, it's. I think we all know kind of where this is going, Andy. And I think a lot of people emotionally are like, "Just do it now. I'm done. I'm over with this chapter of Nebraska football." But Trev Alberts, you've known Trev a long time as well. He is a calculated guy. He set things up already. I mean, he renegotiated the contract in the offseason. He lowered the buyout, lowered the base pay, and then on October 1st, the buyout number cuts in half from $15.5 to $7.5 million. A year ago at this time, that buyout was $25 million. So at this point, what is 2 more weeks or whatever? I mean, we're not quite 2 weeks away, but what is 2 weeks essentially when it can save that kind of money in the big picture? So I still don't think Trev Alberts is going to do anything until October 1st. The Indiana game is on October 1st. Mm-hmm. So do you wait till after the Indiana game? Do you make the announcement at 6 in the morning? I think we kind of obviously know where this is heading.
How surprised are you? I mean, this whole thing, not just about this season, but what they did in the offseason, they kind of ripped up the manual and just kind of started from scratch, bringing in a bunch of transfers.
Players.
Yeah, I mean, how surprised are you, not just about what happened over the offseason to get to this point, but 5 years ago when we had so much optimism going in the other direction with Scott Frost being hired, how surprised are you?
The thing is, they've retooled this offense. I mean, the offense looks fine. The special teams, they improved these areas. But defensively, the area that I don't think anybody thought was going to be the issue. We thought, hey, this is steady Eddie. Eric Shenander has had a few good years in a row. You know, the staff has been together for now its 5th straight year for the most part. There's been a little change in there. But you're like, I don't think anybody thought it was going to be the defense. I really don't. And it's not like Nebraska we didn't think was going to see elite offenses, but Northwestern opened up eyes. The way Northwestern ran it on Nebraska, that's not an elite offense. The way North Dakota, won a lot of third downs a week ago, and then tonight in this game here on Saturday night, Nebraska couldn't get off the field at all. I mean, it took a mistake from Georgia Southern to get Nebraska off the field. Very rarely was Nebraska forcing the issue, and that's the surprise. The offense has improved. They're playing at a good level. They're running the ball. But, man, when you play defense like that, you're just not going to win.
Yep, 640-some-odd yards tonight given up by the Black Shirts. It results in a 45-42 loss to Georgia Southern. Nebraska now 1-2 on the season. And up next is 7th-ranked Oklahoma, who comes to town for the first time since 2009. That game Saturday here in Lincoln.